And let's pivot to the Texans side of this. We've got more to talk about as it relates to the Bills, but Nick Caserio, the GM of the team that traded for Stefon Diggs, spoke yesterday. Here's his take on the diva label that has been applied to Stefon Diggs over the course of his career.
Yeah, number one, I don't even know what that definition means. So if someone can define that for me, again, like, we're not worried about, we're worried about what a player does when he walks in our building. So we do our research. We talk to our players. We talk to other players all the time. We talk to our players, as an example, like a lot of the guys are in the draft. And we talk to those players, hey, what are your thoughts about so-and-so? Candidly, I think it's unfair to label anybody until they actually have an opportunity to walk in the building. Again, our environment's different than another environment, so we really don't know what's going on in 31 other buildings. We know what's going on in our building.
Okay, first of all, his explanation is perfectly acceptable, but don't play dumb right out of the gates. You know what it means. You've been around football for a long time, Nick. You know what it means when somebody says a diva receiver. I don't even know what that means. I mean, come on. That's not the way to cleanse the palate. I understand he's trying to set a new stage for Stefon Diggs. But I'll say what I said when the Bills traded for Stefon Diggs. Beware. Because the guy who decided he wanted a divorce from the team that he was already on is potentially going to decide he wants a divorce from you. That this is somebody who's never going to be completely happy unless he gets everything he wants. And that's what the diva receiver is. The diva receiver wants everything. I want to win. I want the ball. And why do I want the ball? I want the ball because I completely and totally believe that us winning flows from me getting the ball. I want the ball. You give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball, and we're going to win, we're going to win, we're going to win. And if those things don't happen, that's when the diva receiver starts to pout, starts to confront people on the sideline, starts to throw his helmet, starts to act up. And now, there are plenty of receivers who don't act that way. And there was a trend, I think, like with A.J. Green and Julio Jones, Larry Fitzgerald before them, where it wasn't all about, hey, look at me, look at me. And I don't know whether or not the receiver creates that the position, creates the mindset, or attracts guys who have that mindset. But there's a lot of diva receivers out there who attach some greater significance to what they do and believe that the path to victory includes giving them the ball on every single play. So, and I'm not saying Stefon Diggs is like that, but we see flashes of it, and I think it's driven by his intense desire to win. And it gets back to what I said. When the team is struggling and I'm not getting the ball, it supports this idea, if you would just get me the ball, we would win. And I think that's what he carries around, and he's going to carry it with him to Houston.
He will, but at least Houston only has him under contract for 1 year, right? This is the all-in mindset that the Texans are showing that they have without telling us that they have the all-in mindset, because it makes a lot of sense when you have a quarterback who is on the verge of elite and he is going into his second season, right? I mean, that is a very, very affordable quarterback to have. So that's why you can continue to build your team around him. And that's what makes this a risk worth taking for the Houston Texans. I mean, now, when it comes to Nick Caserio and saying, I don't know what diva is, it would have been better if he just quoted Beyonce. And he's like, well, the definition of diva I know is that it's a female version of a hustler. But other than that, that's not Stefon Diggs. So he can come into our building and he can do whatever else he wants, right? And we know that he is a talented guy and we can get him the ball, and that's going to help us win. But it's interesting because with Stefon Diggs, and we showed the numbers a little bit earlier of what it was first 10 games versus last however many games last year, where his targets went down, his production went down as a whole. I mean, it's one of those things where you could say, well, is Stefon Diggs still that guy where you can argue, okay, you get me the ball, we're going to have success? Because most of the Bills' success last year came when they weren't getting Steph Diggs the ball all the time. So I don't know. I mean, does that mean that Steph Diggs is washed? I don't think so. He still had over 1,000 yards last year. I think 8 touchdowns and all that. It doesn't mean that he's incapable of being a really good receiver. And especially in that offense with that QB, and you've got all the players that he's got around him, I think that skill group is certainly better than the one that he's leaving. I mean, and we can argue about what quarterback, blah, blah, blah. in offensive scheme and all that, but I think that there is a real chance for Stefon Diggs to be very productive in this Houston offense. Now, does that mean he's going to get 110 catches, 1,500 yards as he was, peak Buffalo Bills days? I don't think so, but I still think he can get 80 and 1,000. I don't think that that's sort of out of the question. Is that going to be enough for him? That's the real big question there.
Well, and he did end up with more than 1,000 yards, and he did have a bunch of touchdowns, but the production tailed off dramatically. He didn't have a 100-yard receiving game after Week 6. So it is entirely possible that the diva, as you defined it, ultimately became a scrub. And as you know, a scrub is a guy that thinks he's fly and also is known as a buster, thanks to TLC. I mean, if you're going to quote Beyonce, I'll quote TLC. We can go all day with that.
That's good.
So anyway, I saw Stefon Diggs reacting negatively on X, I believe, if I recall this correctly, when they were suggesting he's the number 3 receiver in Houston now. And you know what, Steph, we love you, but there's a chance that's how it's going to play out. There's a chance that when it's time for C.J. Stroud to deliver the footballs, you're not going to get the lion's share of the targets. And when Chris and I got off the rails 15 days ago, I reminded him of one of the great Warren Moon, Chris Carter stories, that Chris Carter tried all that, the I'm open, throw me the ball on Warren Moon back in the early 90s. And Warren Moon said, if you ever do that again, I will never throw another pass to you for as long as we're both on this team. And that shut it down. And that was the genesis of the argument that Josh Allen needs to take control of the relationship. And maybe the reality is they tried everything they could. They tried to tolerate, because he's a great player. Right. We're going to try to make this work. And I think it's a combination of we've tried everything and we saw the revolution, not evolution, of the change from Dorsey to Brady and what that meant to Stefon Diggs. And my lasting memory of Diggs in Buffalo will be the play before the missed field goal in the divisional round loss to the Chiefs, where Diggs was running open underneath, and Josh Allen didn't even look his way. He fired the ball to Khalil Shakir in the end zone, and he got hit just as he was throwing it. Otherwise, it would have been a touchdown, and it might have been another epic finish to a divisional round game between the Bills and the Chiefs. But they could have gotten the first down easily because Diggs was wide open, and he didn't even look his way. So, this feels like it was a long time coming. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.